There is a hunger for books in Africa. Imagine a school with few books. A classroom with barely enough school supplies for each student to have a pencil. Book famine. These are some of the conditions that students inevitably face simply for being born in Africa. Here at Books for Africa's Atlanta location with the operation manager.
Hi, my name is Brad Matson. I've been working for Books for Africa for 12 years. I am the Development and Operations Officer. But as everyone knows, with a nonprofit, you wear many more hats than that.
Where do you get the bulk of your books from?
We get the bulk of our books from K through 12, from Follett Education Services out of Chicago. They send probably 50 semis a year, K through 12 reconditioned books. We get the bulk of our post-secondary books from Better World Books, whose headquarters is in Alpharetta, and their warehouse is in Mishawaka, Indiana. And they probably send just about an equivalent amount. We get about 8,000 pounds books in the mail weekly. We get donations from World Vision, which are new Harcourt, McGraw-Hill, Pearson books, and from anybody that mysteriously trucks them to our warehouse door.
Do the books ever run low? Like, do you ever have a short supply of books?
We do. In fact, last summer we got down to 2 Gaylords, and we had 100 people coming in to volunteer, which would have lasted about a half hour. But then I found a new book supplier from Atlanta here called Clean Earth Books. Their books are lower grade value, so they're probably about 40% usable. But yeah, we get low, and when we do, I call them.
So do some of those companies that you mentioned earlier, do they have specifics of where they want the books to go?
World Vision has restrictions on where they cannot go. They cannot go to certain countries for World Vision. I don't know why, but that's the way it is. And those are brand new books, so we play ball with them.
Who can sponsor a shipment?
Anybody can sponsor a shipment. You could sponsor a shipment. Typically, it's a lot of book trusts all over Africa that do it. And the book trusts, what they'll do is they'll distribute the books for pennies on the dollar so they can keep the supply coming back into the country that they're at, like the Ghana Book Trust. There's all kinds of book trusts, but I had a guy from 3M when we were in Minnesota walk into my warehouse and order 3 shipments to send to Nigeria from the village where he grew up in.
How often do individuals or companies sponsor shipments?
We have the Suramika Afor Foundation, which just sponsored close to 70 shipments, which is our biggest single order ever in 25 years. But typically, it's all across the board. Peace Corps volunteers will come back and want to send a shipment. They'll raise the funds to do it, and we'll ship it. It's such a wide variety of people that can order the books. All they have to do is be able to legally receive the books, and anybody can order them.
How important is having volunteers here to help you?
As I tell our volunteers when they come, we have me and 5 part-time employees, and we ship 3 million books a year. So if we don't have volunteers, we're not shipping books. We have to have those volunteers. And in Atlanta, I believe, I'm not sure who reported it, but we are the #1 volunteer organization in Atlanta with 1,100 volunteers on average, 900 to 1,100 a month.
Now, looking at your map out there, I see that there are a couple of countries in Africa that you have not shipped to. Why is that? Libya and Central African Republic?
I don't specifically know. I'm guessing Gaddafi has something to do with Libya. And I know the Central African Republic is smack dab in the middle of the continent. So I don't know if it's a expense issue for them or if it's a danger issue for them or they just don't want them.
How has the amount of books that you guys have shipped changed and the partners that you guys have had?
We've increased our partnerships considerably. And when I first started, the first year I started, the most they'd ever shipped is 600,000 books. The year our new structure took over, Pat Plonsky was executive director, Deb was the assistant director, I took over the warehouse and logistics. We went from 600,000 to 1.2 million the next year. Then the year after that, we went to 2.4 million once we moved into the new warehouse. And now we hovered around 3 million is where we'll be until we can expand and get more warehouse space, which is going to take more, how should I say it? More not recognition, more awareness that we are in the Atlanta area.
How does the funding come in?
Anybody can order the shipments. All they do is pay for shipping. It's on average $10,800 per shipment. Breaks down to $24 per 70-pound box from here to Africa. You can't ship a 70-pound box across the street for $23. So people raise funds just about every conceivable way you can think of. A lot of times it's countries that are ordering them, so governments are ordering them.
Have you been to Africa?
I have been to Africa.
You delivered a shipment? So
I went to Tanzania, and I didn't go on any safaris or anything. I just went from schools, visited a lot of schools. Most of the schools we went to did not have books. The students were just being taught with chalk on the blackboard, memorizing what was on the blackboard. The schools I went to that did have books, the kids, typically 10 kids to 5 kids will share a book. So that means either one kid takes it one night, or they just share them, keep them at the school, and 10 kids kind of crowd around a book, or 5 kids. When they find out you're from Books for Africa and that you're sending books, they'd come and sing your school song, and it was overwhelming, like I said. And it's so another thing I learned when I was there is that they absolutely love romance novels. Danielle Steele is their favorite. So we didn't used to send romance novels, but now we do, and they're, as I've been told, popular. I'm going back to Africa in the next year again, so I'll see.
Okay, so what has been the most rewarding experience in your 12 years of working with Books for Africa?
Well, for me, it's always kind of rewarding just because you go to a job where you're making a positive impact on, a continent, which not many people can say. And it's also that I actually enjoy going to work every day, which not a lot of people can say. And it's also rewarding to watch it grow, and having been a big part of growing it to the size it is now, being the person responsible for moving it from the Midwest to Atlanta, and then watching the success here in Atlanta. And also, after 5 years of doing it, coming up and having a staff that is kind of the perfect staff, because everybody has their role, everybody knows what their role is, and the staff makes it happen. Because my role has kind of evolved into being more in the office, but I have people that I can trust now that can get everything done that I count on, and they're great.
Books for Africa is an organization with one mission: to end the book famine in Africa. They collect, sort, ship, and distribute books to students all over Africa. Books for Africa remains the largest shipper of donated text and library books to the African continent.